What is up, fellow benchwarmers? Welcome to your daily fantasy quiz. Hey guys, what is up? It's the almost daily fantasy quickie now. My name is JJT with Komish Eric. Big day today, Judgment Day. Lots of things happened over the weekend. Actually, it was the last episode we had. We talked about Kyrie. Now we're going to talk about Kyrie once again as the trade happened early this morning. Surprised, Komish?
No, not surprised. We talked about it that there were certain teams that were after him. Dallas was one of them. So that he went to Dallas. Disappointed maybe because we were Laker fans, but actually we I would want to tell people that maybe we dodged the bullet. No, we don't know how Kyrie would behave, what he will do, especially after this season. He's a free agent, so maybe the Lakers dodged a bullet there. We don't know. He's a wild card. He's a person you don't know what he will do. No, with himself and with how he acts. So maybe we dodge a bullet there. Not really that surprised, but I was surprised with some of the offers. How good some of the offers were. No, like Phoenix offering Chris Paul, Jay Crowder. Those offers. I think that was a better offer, but what it is what it is.
Yeah. I think fantasy implications though. Let's go to the teams first that probably didn't make it, right? We know Russ has been the trading block, or the Lakers have always wanted to ship Russ out. So I don't think the relationship there would break. But you mentioned about Chris Paul. Do you think this will affect
No,
Phoenix when it comes to
I don't think.
dealing with Chris Paul?
I don't think so. Chris Paul is a professional. He's a professional guy. He's been traded a couple of times already. He knows he's a veteran. He knows how this business works. So I don't think he's gonna take it really against against the Suns. Try to improve the roster. So he'll be fine. He'll be fine. And even if they didn't get Kyrie, they're really after a star. And they have already mentioned that they're gonna build around the younger core. So Chris Paul's not part of that. So he knows he's on the
So
way
does
out.
this mean looks like Chris Paul would most likely be traded before the season ends? This week.
Well, there are only couple of days left, and there are not really much players available. But we heard they wanted Rozier, they wanted Kevin Durant. I mean, those are different spectrum of players. There's superstars. There's not really a star like Rozier, but I think they're open to it. It's a matter of it's like Charlotte. Will Charlotte take Chris Paul? Maybe they have to add a lot of draft picks. No, because the timeline doesn't really match.
Yeah.
But I think I will not be surprised if Chris Paul gets moved.
All right. So we are a few days away from trade deadline. So this week is going to be a crazy week. Of course, today we're gonna also talk about the week 17 schedule. We're gonna look into that. But let's talk about the implications of this Kyrie trade. Kyrie for Spencer Dinwiddie. Well, Kyrie and some other guys. Who are the guys? Markeith, I think, was part of that deal. But the biggest guys were Kyrie, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith. I think those three guys are the most relevant fantasy-wise. Kyrie first. We talked about Kyrie. Any changes now being, going to play with Luka?
I think people might say that it's the same thing from KD to Luka, but I think there will be a little change when Luka gets back from injury, because Luka needs the ball. We have seen how he plays.
Yeah.
Actually, this Dallas team, we all say that there's not much help for Luka, but in a way also the team is perfect for him. Everybody like knows the role. Just go to the side. They know spot up shooters, and Luka just does everything. So Kyrie's entry will be a little different. Kyrie needs the ball. Kyrie can facilitate, can handle and everything. So yeah, Kyrie would have to take some usage hit here. It's not KD situation. KD's a scorer. No, KD doesn't need to dribble 20, 30 times before taking a shot. It's very efficient. So there's gonna be a hit for Kyrie.
How big of a hit? That's the biggest question.
That's the biggest question. That's the biggest.
Both on both players. we're not just talking about Kyrie. This might also give Luka some hit, right? They might lower his usage a bit, because they can,
He's backed up.
alternate
Yeah.
the roles because Kyrie
Yeah.
plays almost similar with Luka. So I think it's kind of good as well for Dallas and for Luka to lower his usage a bit. Maybe if they make the playoffs, he'll be fresh, more fresh there. Um, so yeah, most
I
likely
think
Luka
I
takes
think
a hit.
it won't be that big for Luka, but there will be some adjustment period for him also. How to play with Kyrie, how to play with the.
Yeah,
I don't remember him playing with such a ball dominant guard in his career yet. So that's let's see how this is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be
but
interesting for
but
sure.
we also haven't seen him maybe play with uh talent as good as Kyrie.
As Kyrie, yeah, that's true. That's
So
true.
this is going to be interesting for both these players, Kyrie and Luka. Of course, for the rest of the Dallas teams, the biggest question now who fills in some of the roles there, who fills in for Dorian Finney-Smith. I think we've gotten questions on who to add. I think Coach Sandy even asked me who I think would be the replacement here for Dorian Finney-Smith. Plus, on the other side, what happens to Dinwiddie, Dorian, and some of the Nets players there?
Dinwiddie side, no, I like it for Dinwiddie. Look, this is two periods. The first period is pre KD, no, with KD out.
Yeah, yeah,
It's perfect. It's perfect. Dinwiddie would go into the situation of Kyrie, basically being the top dog, and there's not really much proven scorers there. So the ball handlers
yeah,
also. Seth Curry's injured, so that's big also. If not, Seth and Dinwiddie would have been a good partnership at the guard position. So Dinwiddie's great there. DFS at first I was thinking won't get hit as much because he's a solid player. But if you look at the lineup of Brooklyn, they're very deep at the wings.
yeah,
They have TJ Warren who's coming back tomorrow. They have Ben Simmons questionable tomorrow. KD when he comes back. Now they have Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Utah. There would be a trade, I would think, no, to maybe declog that rotation. It's kind of deep. That rotation is kind of deep
yeah.
in Brooklyn.
And I was talking to or chatting with Coach Sandy a while ago, and I was telling him it looks like it's going to be between Royce and Dorian Finney-Smith because those two probably are the more consistent fantasy players, right? The
Yeah,
Utah, the Seth, the Joe Harrison, these are what deep league streamers anyway, right? Or even TJ Warren. Ben Simmons, we haven't even really talked about him. So Royce and Dorian Finney-Smith are probably the two players that's going to battle it out.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I think nobody will win. I mean, it's gonna be whoever plays well, timeshare a little, sharing the minutes. So they will get the hit. DFS
yeah,
and who is this? Royce O'Neal.
Royce,
They'll
yeah.
get the hit.
And the best case scenario for those DFS and Royce O'Neal owners is that one of these guys gets moved. Like we said,
Eventually, yeah.
Brooklyn might make some moves still. We don't know. But if they get moved, then that might be better for them. But if they stay in Brooklyn, both of them, then it might be a timeshare. They probably their value won't be as good as where they are now. It's unfortunate because DFS has been playing really well of late without Luka. So we'll see what happens this week. Lots of possible moves as well. Any other moves before we move into the schedule?
No,
Injuries,
nothing else.
Steph.
Yeah, injury. Well, you asked a question about Dallas who will step in. I don't think you should speculate much because whoever steps in, Bullock, Josh Green, those guys are not really players you would really have to add. You have to add. So no must add in Dallas. Injuries. Who got injured today?
Steph.
Not today. Not today, but
But today was the news that he's gonna be out for weeks.
yeah, the
That's going to be tough.
ligament tear in the leg. As I posted, I follow Jeff's thoughts, and he did a very good analysis of this. It's like it's gonna be a month or so. If it's similar to Marcus Smart, it's 5 weeks. Um, if you don't have a bye on week 20, you might not see him until probably your semifinal week or so. So again, another season, another Steph injury, and it's unfortunate. But right now, you have to move on without Steph. You have to look at Steph as not gonna be part of your push towards the finals. Seems like that.
Who benefits? Well, of course, obviously Jordan Poole benefits here.
And
Dante DiVincenzo, and then maybe a little bit of Ty Jerome from time to time. Some streamer if you need some assist.
Clay. I think Clay gets a boost.
Yeah, also Clay, of course. Clay was really good when Steph was out, right? He had some 30, 40 plus point games, right? Let's talk about the schedule. This week will be a very how do you say that, busy week in the NBA. Of course, it's week 17, close to the fantasy playoffs. Trade deadline is this week. What else? We'll see, the LeBron thing is this week, probably, most likely, right?
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, so very busy week. Looking at the schedule, it's going to be a busy week, except for one team, I guess. New Orleans will have 2 games this week. They're the lone team with 2 games. And the rest
is true. They have only they're the and there's not much teams with 4 games though. There are only 9 teams with 4 games. So the total number of games isn't that much. So if you own New Orleans, maybe that's not the worst situation to have 2 games, because there's no team with 5 games. There's very few teams with 9 games, with 4 games. So at least the disparity isn't that wide.
Yeah. So looking at the breakdown, we have a couple of quality game days, and it's going to be bad because Judgment Day will only have 2 games, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be tough. So if you are it's also going to be a challenge because trade deadline is this week. You'll probably want to save some moves before the trade deadline, right? And once the trade deadline passed, you probably use up some of your moves here and there. So it's going to be a challenge to one stream because you're going to try to save your moves. And secondly, at the end of the week, there's just 2 games, so there's not much players to stream as well. Right? So, but quickly before you say anything, Tuesday 8 games, Wednesday 6 games, Thursday 9 games. Friday, as always, is a 4-game day, and this is the day where I feel LeBron breaks the record. Saturday 11 games, Sunday 9 games, and Monday 2 games. Your thoughts?
Overall, yeah, the streaming thing, I will add Wednesday as a streaming day. No, that's a 6 games day. Then Friday, then Monday. The problem is, if you look at everything, there's no team with really games on all 3 days. There's no team with games on those. There's not even a team with game on the 4 games and the 2 games. So it's gonna be hard to really get to save moves, with one move, so it can stream for the whole week. That's gonna be tough. Now, since it's the trade deadline, you have to save at least 2 moves. I think that's what I will do. You save 2 moves, just 2 moves. The others, I don't know how many moves you have in your league, 4, 5, 3. The others you can use, and then save at least 1 or 2 moves, at least 2 moves.
The challenge here is that the trade deadline is in the middle of the week. So
Yeah.
Either you probably will save two moves early on, use the two moves. If you have four moves, use two moves first and then save it for trade deadline. Or you save the four moves for trade deadline and then use stream right after the trade deadline. I think those are two strategies that you could look into because the trade deadline is somewhere in the middle. I think it's this week. It's going to be on Thursday, right? If I'm not mistaken, Thursday Manila time.
There's early
No,
Friday.
Friday,
February,
Friday.
yeah, early Friday. Like February 10, 4 a.m. would be the deadline.
Yeah.
4 a.m. So basically, we should get moves around maybe midnight that day, and then 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, early morning here in Manila. So yeah, basically at that point, you already had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You had 3 days already. So that would be that would be tough, no? If you're down with in the schedule and all of those stuff, and then you can't make a lot of moves.
Yeah,
Because you're waiting for the
because you're
trade.
saving for the trade deadline. So that's why it might be also important to look at the back to backs this week. Looking at the back to backs, the transition week, Cleveland and Sacramento. So Cleveland and Sacramento, if you were able to stream players from these two teams for Judgment Day, you can hold on to them until tomorrow because they play another game. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, all of these Manila time, Brooklyn, Chicago, and OKC. Wednesday, Thursday, it's going to be Minnesota. Thursday, Friday, there will be no back-to-backs. Friday, Saturday, Milwaukee, Phoenix. Saturday, Sunday, there will be lots of teams with back-to-back. Charlotte, Cleveland, Dallas, Indiana, Miami, New York, Philly, Sacramento, San Antonio, and Utah. And then none after that. So, that Saturday, Sunday, that's I think, is that the day after the trade deadline, right? So that's
Yeah.
probably perfect. It can be perfect or not, depending on who gets traded or who gets, who plays. Because during that time, players who have been traded might not yet be ready to play. That's to add another complication within this week.
Yeah, that's true. That's another thing. If you're too late with the traded players, maybe the effects of that you can just try to take advantage
Yeah.
of that. Like some players, like today, in our what we talked about, like Kyrie might not be ready, Dinwiddie might not be ready, so maybe you can stream Cam Thomas, Sumner, all those players. That could happen next week, this coming week. But another thing to remember is that so far the past few years, trade deadline has been a disappointment.
Has been a doozy.
Doozy. And actually, it's been a while since there's really been a fantasy game-changing trade. Fantasy. We're not talking about NBA game-changing trade. Fantasy, wherein somebody gets traded and the value of that person or the person left behind suddenly
Skyrockets.
And then leads the managers to the championship, to the playoffs or whatever. Been a while. If you really study it, not been a lot. And if you look at the rumors right now, there are names that I even mentioned here, like trade stashes, but these are not big names. These are not names that, really for me could change fortunes that much. So don't overdo it also. Don't overdo, like I'll save 4 moves. Even if I lose this week, lose big, I don't care. Just balance it out. I think that would be the best course of action. Because the names I put out here, they're not really big names or, very game-changing fantasy-wise.
Unless, there's a surprise move that happens that we don't really anticipate, right?
Yeah, we hope that will happen.
We as NBA fans would love to see something like that, a game-changing move. Although, even if superstars are moved, usually they stay where they are, right? More often they take a hit than they get, their values get a boost. That's what usually happens, right? When you get traded, you take a hit more than you get a boost.
And for instance, Dinwiddie is not a superstar, but he's probably around the top 100. And he gets a boost here, as we said. That would probably be the best, I think. That probably is the best you can hope for. Somebody like a Dinwiddie suddenly improves a little his value. Something like that. to expect somebody from 100 to become a top 20, I don't think that will happen during this trade deadline. Looking at the names that been rumored.
Yeah.
So far.
All right. So streaming plan, worst schedules. If you look at the worst teams with the worst schedules, of course, New Orleans just with 2 games. The OKC Thunder, they start with Golden State and then the Lakers. Then they only have 1 game in the last 4 days. So that's going to be tough. New York, Philly, Indiana, Miami, and Charlotte, they start off with just 1 game in the first 4 days. And then they get a back-to-back to end the week. So those teams probably are considered to be having the worst schedule just because of the spread, right, of the schedules. If you get a player from, let's say, New York, Philly, Indiana, you probably end up dropping them anyway right after. So just one move for 1 game.
So that in the context of what we're talking about, maybe don't stream players from these teams because you're saving moves. No, I mean, that's 7 teams out there that maybe even if it's a good player really, but if you really want to save moves, maybe just don't target players from these teams.
Yeah. Good teams with good schedule: Brooklyn, Chicago, Denver, Atlanta, the Lakers, Orlando, and Phoenix. Yeah, we can target them early already because they have a good spread out schedule for the week.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's a look into the schedule. But in case you are looking for trade stashes, we've talked about them throughout the past few weeks, right? Mark Williams, Nick Richards. We've been talking about them for quite some time now. Alex Caruso. Well, I'm not sure if Alex Caruso is still available, but he has been dropped because he's been injured and then poor showing. Bones Highland is a guy that lately has been swirling around, trade rumors just because it looks like him and Denver don't see eye to eye at this point. So Bones, watch out for that. Alec Burks, Tyree Eason. I don't know. I don't know if you're tired of us talking about Tyree Eason, but this is the time. If you're holding on to him, wait a few more days to see what happens there. TJ McConnell, Naz Reid, Obi Toppin, Mo Bamba. Well, Mo Bamba has been in headlines, but he's out, 4 games? I think he's going to be out 4 games still.
Yeah.
Tybal, also been hearing about in trade rumors. Zach Collins, with the Jakob Pertl trade rumors. Chris Boucher and Jared Vanderbilt. Jared Vanderbilt was out today, right? Late scratch. So usually there's hint about, there's hint of these guys might possibly be traded in the next couple of days. So we'll see.
Let's see.
It's going to be an exciting week, guys. Like we said, lots of things to look forward to this week. And yeah, that's it for today's quickie. We apologize for not doing it daily just because life stuff happens. Lots of things going on. Yesterday, I had some technical issues as well with my connection. So anyway, as always, hope you like this video. Hope this helped. Subscribe, follow us on our socials, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow for another Daily Fantasy. Hopefully with some trade news as well. All right. Bye, guys.